Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. And as I always say, we continue to stream stories of entrepreneurship, leadership, how people are adjusting and managing to this economy. A few years back, I interviewed our next guest, Troy Billet, advisor at OffGridBox. Welcome back, Troy.
It's great to be back. Thank you for having me.
I hope you remember me and I don't look that much older.
You look great. You look great. Don't worry.
I don't know about great, but talk about what's going on at OffGridBox and what's going on for you.
Well, as you know, there's been a lot of crazy stuff happening over the last few years. And really, in response to that, we noticed that, people are starting to realize that disaster can happen at any time. And before we were really focused on rural development, rural villages, we were providing clean water and solar in these situations to help them rebuild. But then we realized that we might need to start rebuilding in our own backyard, especially when the grid shut down in Dallas, Texas, and there's also the wildfires in California and Colorado. And so we wanted to get something or build something more accessible. So previously our solar water purification systems were $30,000. Okay. I mean, that's not very affordable for somebody that just wants to be safe or wants to have continued power and water in a disaster situation. So we invented something called the OffGridBox Mini, and it's basically this big. I mean, it's 1 foot by 1 foot, but it still provides those critical resources: energy, water, and Wi-Fi or 3G internet. And that's been really compelling because we can sell it for $2,500, something like this, and it's delivered right to your door. And so this provides an ease of mind, and since it's solar powered, you're not worrying about fighting over gasoline or anything like that. It's really gonna last for the long term because we built it to last 10 years. I mean, it's meant for disaster relief, so it won't just be knocked out all of a sudden.
Interesting. And has the company grown substantially since the last time we talked? Has it changed in terms of its categories that it sells to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were really focused on these rural development projects in East Africa. And since we had projects with the United Nations, their development program, they launched a dozen of our systems out in these rural villages. But then we also got a project with USAID where we're actually providing relief to clinics and communities in really hard situations. And so, we weren't trying to get attention with these projects. We were really just trying to help people. But in response, we got like 5 million views on a video that was just showing a demo of the product. And people really reacted. They really saw that, oh, we need something in the case of disaster, and this can be accessible. Anyone can set it up in just a few minutes. And so we're really excited about the future of this OffGridBox Mini and just the amount of growth that we've experienced. I mean, now we're almost 35 people, and we started with just 2 founders. So 2 engineers that had an idea.
Okay, so you talked about growth. Now your role has changed a lot also. You're an advisor now. You had a different role before. Talk to us about your new position, but also talk to us about the transition. What transpired?
Well, in the beginning, when I first joined as like the first employee, basically, I was just trying to help, right? I was trying to make the founders as efficient as possible. And I realized that through the customer interviews, through providing to all these customers in rural development, that we saw, oh my God, there's a huge opportunity for disaster relief organizations. These disaster relief organizations ask for something smaller, something more portable, something they could throw on a plane that they could take with them and check it as a bag. And so I started working on this Mini kind of in the background as a potential product. And I actually spun out that into a new company because it was so different than the large infrastructure projects we were doing. And that became my own entrepreneurial journey. But then as the parent company started to realize that this Mini has a huge potential, that there's a bigger customer base, they actually made that the main priority. And so we merged the companies back together And this mini is now our 100% of our focus. And in that transition, I became an advisor for the company, just specifically for the disaster relief type customers.
You like the role better?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to be more in a strategic role rather than an execution role. But that being said, like, it's fun to be in the field, and it's fun to understand the impact that you're really having. Like, I don't think I could be in this role if I didn't have those operational experiences prior.
So you say the technology's changed. It's a lot smaller. Are you working on the next generation of changes already? And I'd like to get a sort of peek into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the next step for us really is to build in basically a smart computer. We call it like the brain of the system. So it can be more efficient, of course, but also just so that we can set up like satellite connectivity so that we don't have to have a cellular provider close by in order to get that internet connection. And that's really the future. We see it as, oh, okay, this needs to be like a press of a button. You get clean water, solar energy, and satellite connection, internet connection, no matter where you are on Earth.
Wow. And how are you selling now? Direct or through agents?
Yeah, basically we're revisiting all the larger nonprofit organizations that we already sold to, or government organizations, but also we're selling right now just on our website. So right now you can order one of these OffGridBox minis immediately off our website. And that's something that we've never really done before, because the larger systems, I mean, most people don't want to pay $30,000 over a website. You know, they want to see the product, they want to interact with the product. So, but this way it's like kind of a lower risk way to try out the system and make sure that it's something that is quite as easy to use as we claim.
Interesting. We've been speaking with Troy Billet, advisor at OffGridBox. My name is Jeffrey Davis. This is Radio Entrepreneurs. Troy's been on the show before. Did COVID affect the way you did business?
Yeah, I think it made us take a step back. We started to source a bit more locally instead of some of the international, especially for batteries and solar panels, because we don't want that super long supply chain. We want to be able to provide to customers immediately, and we don't want to be worried about back orders or anything like that. So strategically that shifted. However, it also shifted the customer base, because we understood that, okay, people who have a career in disaster relief understand the problem. And so that's who we were talking to. But now more and more people are becoming aware that unexpected things can happen. And I think that that's broadened the scope of who we can help. And it's going to make a huge, huge impact on a lot more people. And a lot more people are going to be willing to take that leap of faith.
Is the company self-funding at this point?
Yeah. So we're considering another round of funding, but it's more for growth. Like, we've been able to establish a constant customer base, which allows us to continue operating and grow. But if we want to grow really aggressively and truly serve the rest of the world, then we're going to need to raise some capital.
Great. Troy, if someone's looking for you, talk to you about OffGridBox or OffGridBox directly, how would they find you and the company?
It's very easy to go to our website, offgridbox.com, but I'm probably easiest to find on LinkedIn. So it's Troy Billet. I would be happy to talk to anyone about disaster relief or clean energy. I mean, these are my passions. Like, I just want to help people.
Great. I want to thank you for being on Radio Entrepreneurs again, and I look forward to our next meeting.
Great.
And ask our listeners to continue to tune in to more stories on Radio Entrepreneurs.